Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Fight the spread and take a stand against coronavirus. Wear a mask in public. Stay at least 6 feet apart from others. And get tested. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/COVID-19.
Hey there, I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by SCDHEC, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, also Palmetto Media Connections and Agape Counseling and Training Center. Listen, if you're having some challenges coping with COVID, please contact the folks at Agape Counseling and Training Center. Well, I am Tre Tailor, and coming up, longtime sportscaster Rick Henry joins us to discuss sports and, of course, his recent successful journey with prostate cancer. Thank you, Rick, so much for joining us. I appreciate you.
Hey, Trey, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And then we're going to hear from Dr. Nicole Edwards. She'll update us about some recent cancer guidelines and information. Rick is coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, your COVID community updates. The State Department of Education has launched the Engage program, which will provide additional help for students facing academic challenges with virtual learning. K through 12th graders who need it will receive one-on-one coaching about school, answers to questions about technology and curriculum, and access to community support programs. Parents should visit the website parentssc.graduationalliance for more information. Governor McMaster was one of the people on a kidnapping hit list, according to the FBI. The group also linked to planning the abduction of Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, posted on Facebook that they would die to defend the Constitution and that they were coming to South Carolina to place the governor in custody. One of the people charged with the plot was arrested here in South Carolina. And free rides to the polls are being given by several entities next Tuesday, including the Comet Bus System, the NAACP, Uber, Lyft, Hertz. And if you want to ride in style, you can see some information on the screen. Chris Levy will get you to the polls in a limo. Check the screen for more information and numbers of different places that you can get rides to the polls. It's right there. And the information will be scrolling throughout the show. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and locations for COVID testing in and around South Carolina. Visit scdheck.gov for more information. And again, that information will be scrolling throughout the show at the bottom of the screen. You can also see information about the DHEC Care Line. Now, you can call the DHEC Care Line to get information about COVID and about transportation to get a COVID test. Now, if you are unable to get transportation or be transported, if you're immobile at your home and you live in Richland or Clarendon County, check the screen for information on how Clarendon County and Richland County paramedics can do an in-home testing. Now, if you want to host a COVID testing at your event or at your location, you can also contact SCDHEC, and that information is listed on the screen also. Now, not only with COVID testing, you need to get your flu shot because 'tis the season to get your flu shot. And there are several entities, including SCDHEC, Prisma Health, and the VA are all offering free flu shots. So please check the information and get your flu shot as soon as you can. The South Carolina Bar Association has joined with SC Legal Services. They've got a toll-free number and a website if you need information on how to get help paying your mortgage and your rent. And the City of Columbia has a 6-month payment plan for those who need it to pay their water bills, and they even offer payment assistance up to 75%. Now, you can check out the various satellite locations throughout the state where you can vote during the week. As you know, early voting, absentee voting has started, and regardless of where you usually vote, you can go to any of these satellite locations. Now, don't forget to also, if you requested a mail-in ballot and you don't want to mail it in, you want to drop it off, you can also go to these satellite locations and drop off your ballot. You shouldn't have to wait in line. There'll either be a drop box or you can go straight through inside, and there'll be someone or somewhere that you can drop off your ballot. Now, also on this Saturday, there's a March to the Polls. That's going on this Saturday in Columbia and in Charleston. We're going to speak with those ladies tomorrow on Coping with COVID to give us more details. And Own Your Vote, courtesy of Oprah Winfrey, is going on today. She's been hosting these virtual town halls via Zoom to encourage people to own their vote. And today, it's going to happen for South Carolina. It will feature, among others, City Councilwoman Tamika Isaac Devine. Now, you've only got a couple of more days if you want to get in on all of the great information and certifications and training that is being offered by the South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce. They've got certificates in business, technology, health, data science, arts and humanities. The courses are being offered in both English and Spanish. And you can take as many as you like, but you need to register by October 31st. Visit do.sc.gov for more information. Also, go over to YouTube and check out Rashonda Pratt's page. She's doing some tips and information for virtual learners and workers. She was on the show a couple of weeks ago and gave some great information, and you can check her out on YouTube. Now, a couple of great hiring opportunities, including Amazon. They are hiring about 1,300 people in South Carolina. It's $15 per hour plus benefits. You can check out the screen for more information on how you can apply for those jobs. And CarMax is also hiring people here in Columbia. They've got several positions available. So visit the CarMax website for more information. Now, it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and there are several resources available if you need the help. Please look at the information on the screen, and please reach out to the folks that are available for you if you need information on getting some help. If you or someone you know is a victim of domestic violence or sexual assault. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we want you to get the help that you need. The TaylorMade Productions page is the home of Coping with COVID. Please go over there and like and follow it. You'll be able to see Coping with COVID Monday through Saturday at 2 p.m. And you can also get all of your COVID-related updates. We're streaming live on the TaylorMade Production page. We're also streaming live on YouTube. Would you go over there, please? Want to say hi to all of the YouTubers and hit the subscribe button. I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Rick Henry is back on Coping with COVID. The longtime sportscaster and prominent media personality in the Carolinas has been a valued friend of mine and his wife, Perrine, and contributor here on the show until he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I actually remember, Rick, communicating with you back and forth about coming on the show in August, and we were trying to key in some dates, and then you said, well, I've got something I need to do. I was like, okay.
Something you have to take care of.
Yeah, and that's what you said. You said, I really think I'll be able to. I was like, okay, and then I saw that you had prostate cancer. So when and how did you find out about the diagnosis? Because you had been, the last time we talked with you, you had been on an extended leave of absence because you had so much time built up at the television station.
Yeah, well, back on March 16th, when the whole sports world shut down, remember the ACC and SEC, they uh, canceled their basketball tournaments. The
Right.
NCAA said there'll be no March Madness. And so March 16th, I go, I have nothing to cover. And
Nothing going on.
yeah, I had all this time accrued since I started working at WIS 32 years ago because
Wow.
when we were owned by Liberty Corporation, your unused sick time carried over. And so I started calculating, and with my current time, it's like 18 weeks.
Wow.
So I told my news director, I said, hey, I'm just going to burn some of this time. I'll see you April 1st. Well, of course, sports world continued to be shut down.
Yeah.
But no, that was March 16th when I just took my hiatus. And on March 31st, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Wow.
And so,
Really?
it was already a bummer because, I've been lucky enough to be gainfully employed since 1978.
That's amazing.
I've gone from one job to the other without a break. And so March, April are normally busy months for me. And all of a sudden I have nothing. And now, boom, I'm hit with the news that I have prostate cancer.
Yeah. Want to thank everyone for watching Coping with COVID. Marvell Williams Mendenhall says, hello, Mr. Henry. She says, I praise God for your healing. Thank you, Marvell, so much for watching. My coach, Tawana, says, hey there. Hey, Tawana, I need to talk to you. Call me when you get a chance. We're talking to a longtime sportscaster, Rick Henry, about his prostate cancer diagnosis. So, Rick, did you just go in for your regular checkup and found out?
Just my regular checkup. They do blood work and they check your PSA levels.
Right.
And in the past, maybe my level was maybe a little higher than, what is considered recommended or so.
Mm-hmm.
And my doctor says with some people, it is a little bit higher, but this time it was really elevated. So he told me to go see my urologist. And he did a biopsy March 25th. March 31st, he told me, yeah, it's cancer.
Had you been feeling bad?
No, that's the thing with prostate cancer. You can have it and really not know it. After my diagnosis, my wife would constantly ask, well, how are you feeling? I said, hey, I feel good. I feel fine. Wasn't feeling sick at all. And
Wow.
looking back on it, maybe there's some days because when your body is trying to fight off something, be it a cold, a virus, or cancer, I guess it's working extra hard. And maybe you have some days where you're sluggish or you don't have as much energy as you would on some other days, but didn't think anything about it. But since I've had the surgery, and I was telling you before we went live here, I feel like maybe I have had like a tune-up.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
operating on all cylinders.
Yeah, because you are. As you said, we were talking about it before we went on the air. And, even though you say you didn't feel bad, you're running, you're working, you're going here and there. So I don't even know, would you know if you were feeling a little off? Because even if you were tired, Rick, with the schedule that you have, you would probably just think, I'm just slammed because I'm going from one thing to another.
Right. And, I've been blessed until, 2015, starting when I got into television in Florence in 1981 until 2015.
Right, which is where we met in Florence.
Yeah, way back in the Magic City.
That's, yeah.
And, I never really took any sick time.
Right.
And so I'm used to going, like maybe when, you're not 100%. But really, if I hadn't gone to the doctor, I would have never known.
Right. Danielle Lake says, praise the Lord for your healing, Rick. She says she can't believe you're still at WIS.
Wow. Well, that's, some days I can't believe it either that it's been this long.
Yeah.
And on other days, it seems like the time has really flown by. But it's been a great journey.
Yeah. And really, it has been. I mean, so let's finish talking. Is there anyone in your family that has cancer?
Well, Now that you've asked, I had my surgery in Orlando, and the day before the surgery, met with the surgeon, and he was asking me about, of course, my medical history,
Right.
and
Yeah.
also my family's medical history. Well, on my mother's side, her brother had prostate cancer.
Oh, wow.
On my father's side, I had a first cousin who had prostate cancer.
Wow.
And so he told me, and he was asking me about my immediate family and my kids. So I have a son. And he said, well, my son should start getting screened at the age of 40 because of our family history. So
Right.
That's something I'm going to stay on him about, because he's right now 3 years away from turning 40.
Right. Yeah, I want to ask when we bring Dr. Nicole in, I want to ask about that, because I know my both of my sisters have breast cancer. So I'm always conscientious about getting my mammograms because of that. Now, did you know that they had prostate cancer, that your two family members had prostate cancer?
Well, I knew that my uncle did.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away in 2005.
So
and
sorry.
My first cousin, I'm trying to remember, if maybe he had mentioned it to me, but what really caught my attention was, after I was diagnosed, he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah, he passed away. And so.
And how old a gentleman is he?
He is. He was a little older than me, so I'll say maybe late 60s or so. Still, relatively young.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. 60 sounds young after when you're 60 sounds young. Yeah.
Yeah. But in talking with some other family members, I don't think his was detected early.
Really? Wow.
And so he battled it for a number of years, and until it finally got the best of him.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that. You talked about early detection, and again, when we get Dr. Nicole in here, I want to talk about this. But yours was detected early,
right? Like when the doctor told me that it's cancer, and my wife and I were sitting there in his office, and for a few seconds it seemed like he was talking and I was in a daze, trying to process what he just told me, because you start thinking about, okay, the worst possible outcome.
You do. Yeah.
And you can't believe that I have cancer.
It's such a big word, cancer is. People hear cancer. I think that's probably one of the most feared conditions.
Right. Because, I don't know, there's so many different types of cancer too.
Yeah.
And some of them you're not as familiar with as others. But one thing that really helped me mentally is that the week after I had my biopsy, my doctor scheduled me for an MRI and a bone scan. And before I was due to go and talk to him about the results, maybe like 2 days before, he called me and said, hey, I just wanted to share this with you. Good news. The cancer was contained primarily in the prostate area, which was great. And so then that helped my mental outlook.
Yes.
And then we start focusing, on what's the next step.
Exactly. Judy Etheridge says that she's so glad that you're doing well. Prostate cancer runs in her family. She said she lost her father to prostate cancer. We're so sorry to hear that, Judy. Thank you for your comment, and we appreciate you watching. Yeah, it's one of those things, like I said, that, you hear it, and like you said, you just, it's like you have an out-of-body experience. But like you said, the fact that the doctor said it's confined, in one place, I'm sure it lifted it lifted a burden from your mind, from your heart, from your spirit.
Yeah, it did. It really did. But then, I was anxious to move on to the next step, because after I made the decision to have surgery.
Now, was that the only option? And I just want to kind of jump in here, because after they said you had cancer, was surgery what they decided? They never said anything about chemo?
No, he gave me some options, right? And what I did is I asked the doctor, if this were you, what would you do?
Right.
He said he'd have the surgery, just go ahead, get it out. And I said, okay, we'll have the surgery. Then the next step, where will we have the surgery?
Right.
He gave me 3 options: to have it done locally in Columbia, go to Augusta, or to Orlando, Florida. And again, I said, where would you go? He said, Orlando. He said, because that guy down there is the best.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. His Dr. Vipul Patel. And it was robotic surgery.
Oh.
I did some research, and he's performed that procedure, I don't know, like 14,000 times.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
And, he's regarded as one of the world's best. They do like 8 of these procedures per day. And when I was talking to him, and he said, yeah, you're from South Carolina. He said, last week we had 3 or 4 guys from South Carolina. 1 of every 9 men will get prostate cancer. And that rate is even higher for African American men. And that's one reason, I wanted to make my diagnosis public. Let's get some conversation going, because as we just had, I believe, Judy Etheridge, who commented about
her father
runs in her family. Since I went public, I've heard from a number of guys who have had it, or people who have family members, they have a friend, and it's like, okay, where was all this discussion before?
Yeah.
Because these are conversations that we need to have. And I want to encourage men to, hey, if you're not seeing a doctor on a regular basis, then you need to start.
Right. And is that what the conversation is? I loved, Rick, that you're using this for a platform to, like you say, have these conversations. Because first of all, it's hard to get your brother. We love him. We love a man, but it's hard to get you guys to the doctor,
Uh-huh.
So what are men saying to you?
They, I had one guy get in touch with me. He's a former USC football player. And he said, after, seeing my story, because I announced it live on the air.
Yeah, you did.
He hadn't been to a doctor in 20 years.
Oh, Rick.
He made an appointment. I've referred people to my urologist.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, I had a conference call with this couple. The guys facing the same situation, and they wanted to know why I went to Orlando. So I shared all of my information. And so, and then I've had other people reach out to me. Hey, I went through the same thing. Call me if you want to talk, if you want to need some information. So, and it's like, again, these are conversations that we should be having frequently. And I remember I'm after I get to Orlando, and I'm talking to one of my fraternity brothers, and we're just talking about health and going to the doctor and examinations, that, may not be pleasant, but it's like, hey, we're glad we did it. They're necessary.
Right.
It can save your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. We're talking to Rick Henry, longtime sports broadcaster here in the South Carolina area. Of course, he's been with WIS-TV for years and years. And you may have heard that he announced in April. Did you make the announcement in April on the air? Was it in April?
No, it was in August.
August. Right. It was in August. I knew that. It was in August that he had prostate cancer. And it's so interesting that you said that, it's just, God, it's so interesting because, and I want to ask you about how your life has changed, but you're already talking about how this has almost given you a new mission in life outside of sports.
Right. Because, after I went public with it, and I knew there'd be, a lot of support from folks, but Tre was just overwhelming. I mean, the number of people that reached out to me. I mean, coaches, players that I've covered over the years. And there you're seeing some pictures of my wife and family and friends surprised me with a send-off parade the day before I have to go to Orlando for the surgery. And like the night that I announced it on our 6 o'clock show, I was in my car in the parking lot at WIS and seeing all the text messages, tweets, then phone calls. I was just sitting in my car tearing up, not because I was afraid or scared, but because people cared so much.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a message from God saying, hey, Rick, you're doing something right.
Wow.
Keep doing it, or, just strive to live your life even better. And then also using me to inform other people and encourage other men to see the doctor. And I like what you said about women, nudging the guys to go see a doctor.
Yes.
We can be pretty stubborn.
Yes. Yes, you can.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, I admit it, but
but you're doing it for, this is what you do it for. This is your beautiful family. And this is what you do it for, right?
Yeah. They were great. Everyone got to go to Orlando with me.
Wow.
So that was one thing with the pandemic and everything. Everyone was free.
Yeah.
And so that really, that really helped me having them there. And
so did the pandemic affect your decision of when and where and how?
Well, it affected when, because once I made the decision and, I called the folks down there in Orlando and we started that whole process. One of their doctors called and, kind of interviewed me and see where I stood with everything. And they had to stop their scheduling of surgeries, because of the pandemic. And so I'm going, oh man, I was in, I just wanted to get it done.
Yes.
Because my goal was to get it done in time to be ready for football season.
Yeah.
And then when they started doing surgeries again, they wanted to take the most serious cases.
Right.
So I was
hoping yours wasn't deemed to be the most serious.
No, because, after looking at my test results, they could see that it wasn't that aggressive. And so, I was trusting them. Going, okay, if they say so.
Because listen, it's serious to you.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It is. It's like people say, the only minor surgery is surgery they're performing on someone else.
That's right.
If they're cutting on you, this is a major, major deal.
Yeah.
And especially when you're dealing with cancer. And they told me, and I called I was talking to the lady who schedules the surgeries. And I said, hey, look, I'm a sportscaster and I was hoping to be ready to go for football season. She said, okay, well, if there's an opening, we'll try to move you up. But it was never moved up. And then I reached a point where, I was going to rent a house down there for the family while we were there. Didn't want to stay in a hotel because we were there for 11 days.
Wow.
And so I just went ahead with the August 20th date. But as it turned out, with the start of the football season being delayed, I really didn't miss hardly anything. So it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, we're talking to Rick Henry, longtime sportscaster in South Carolina, not even Columbia, in South Carolina. We're talking about his journey through prostate cancer. And I want to bring in, Rick, Dr. Nicole Edwards. She is a board-certified general practitioner who works with vets and survivors of sexual and domestic abuse. Dr. Edwards, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Hey, Trey, thanks so much for having me. And good to see you, Rick. And I'm so glad that you're doing well.
Well, thank you, Dr. Edwards. Yes, I'm truly blessed and received some great medical care, and with the prayers of so many people, I'm just fantastic. Really.
Yeah, we hate that we weren't able to get your doctor, Rick, but we wanted to bring in Dr. Nicole to talk about some things and to update people. Now, you said, Nicole, there are some updates regarding cancer. Tell me about that. Tell us about that.
There are. So I will tell you that prostate cancer is one of the, it has a whole lot of, if you depending on what cancer society you go and look at, or what updates or guidelines you go and look at, everybody's got a little bit of a different guideline. So prostate cancer has always been that one as a family doctor. And of course, like you said, Rick, this is oftentimes where it starts, where we kind of didn't know who to follow, whose guidelines should we follow. So there were so many guidelines. The American Cancer Society has a guideline. The American Urological Society has a guideline. The American Academy of Family Physicians has a guideline. And so it's like, well, which one do we follow? So actually there has been some updated guidelines that came through actually this year. So before, the question was, do we screen with the PSA screening before age 40? Do we do it at age 40? Do it at age 50? Only when someone has symptoms? And so it was kind of a toss up. So what the consensus is now currently is that we should start screening at age 50. Now, so that's a big change, because a lot of times we were starting screening at age 40 for people. But in general, if you don't have risk factors, which I'll talk about in a moment, the average you should be screened at age 50. Now, I also often tell men this, screening, so that was the other thing that we used to kind of have be a toss up. Is screening just the blood test with the PSA, or does it often involve what they call the DRE, or the digital rectal exam? And I think that's what scares a lot of men off, because, you know, what the doctors snaps their gloves. And so men don't want to get that glove snap test. So I think a lot of men were scared of that. But here's what I always tell people. We didn't know before, like, should we do a DRE or do we only do the PSA? And so now they're saying that you'll be okay with just doing the PSA as long as the person is low risk. The DRE can give you some more information and guidelines information, but that's the other thing. A lot of people don't, even doctors, we're not trained exactly on how to do the DRE correctly. Now, urologists, because that's their specialty, they know how. Now, they show us how to do it, but I'll tell you this too. Like, I've got these little, I've got piano fingers, so my fingers are kind of long, but think about somebody who has smaller fingers. Their fingers might not get to the prostate in a gentleman. So at a DRE, a digital rectal exam, we typically have the person either bend over the table or lean on their side, turn on their side, and it's one finger in the rectum. What we're feeling for is for that prostate gland. So you go up. Now, my finger is about, it also depends on the gentleman, because some people have a longer rectum than others. And so, but when you go in, you slide over the prostate gland, and what you're doing, you're feeling on the prostate gland, right? So we're feeling for, is it boggy? Is it hard? So if you can do it to yourself, you should feel more like the back of here, kind of bouncy like this, and not like your knuckle. If we feel something like a knuckle, then that could be a nodule or something that's abnormal that we need to find out what's going on. Also, when we're bouncing on it like this, of course it's uncomfortable, right? It's a digital rectal exam. But while we're in there, it shouldn't hurt. And so if we find that it hurts, then that could also be a sign of something going on. Here's the other thing. Just because you have an abnormal digital rectal exam, it does not mean it's prostate cancer, right? So there's other things that can cause swelling of the prostate or inflammation of the prostate, not quite that cause nodules. Most nodules, that we need to go figure out what's going on with the nodule. But there's some other things called like prostatitis, which can be an infection of the prostate. There is what most men get, which is called BPH, or benign prostatic hypertrophy, which is a swelling of the prostate. Now, all men will get swelling of the prostate. As you age, you're going to get, your prostate is going to enlarge, okay? And they say that can be every 10 years of life, you're going to have enlargement of the prostate. So I always tell my older gentlemen in their 60s and 70s, you've got some BPH, and that's a good thing, because it means that you're still here, right? You don't see BPH usually in our younger folks. So we see that in the older gentlemen. So we do know, like, as you get up to your 80s, there's an 80% chance that you're going to have some prostate enlargement, right? So, and so for every decade of life, that increases your chance by 10%. All that to say, we should be doing the screening for men with at least a PSA at age 50, unless you have some high risk categories. Now, what makes a man high risk? A, if you're African American.
And I was going to ask, is that the same for people of color? So
Absolutely.
You're high risk if you're African American.
You are African American, then you are high risk. And it's not just African American, it's people, African American, brown people. So African Americans, Hispanics, people from, the Caribbean. So if your skin is melanated, then you're at high risk for prostate cancer.
Wow.
Okay. Also, if you have what's called a first degree relative. Now, Rick, you were saying that your uncle had prostate cancer. So we don't consider that a first degree relative. A first degree relative is a father or a brother. Okay. So if your father or brother had prostate cancer, then that would make you in the higher risk category.
Higher risk.
Okay. And so what we typically do is we find out the age of, for example, Rick, your age when you were diagnosed was
64.
64. So, your son would need to get screening earlier. Now, what we typically tell people, let's say you were 54 when you, let's say you were 54 when you got diagnosed. Then the men in your sons and in your bloodline, they should get screened 10 years prior to when you were diagnosed. Okay, same thing that we tell ladies about breast cancer. Trey, you were talking about your sisters.
Yeah,
you should be screened. The typical age for screening for women for breast cancer, and even that's changed. But anyway, we're not talking about that. Mm-hmm. But you should be screened 10 years prior to that first primary degree relative to when they were screened. And then after that, so those are the biggest risk factors. So if you've got those two risk factors, then we actually say you should start your screening at age 45. Okay. So, and we're seeing that more often. We're seeing that we're telling men and women, you should get your colonoscopies earlier. Then if you're not high risk, and African American always makes you high risk, unfortunately. And then, so prostate cancer, colon cancer, all of these things should be screened about 5 years earlier because we're at high risk. And then also if you have a primary relative. Now, if you have more than one relative, so if you've got a brother or maybe two brothers and a father, then you should actually be screened at age 40. So maybe, Rick, your urologist said that your son should be screened at age 40 because of you and your uncle, and then if there's anyone else.
And the cousin. Yeah, he said his cousin.
Okay, so that's why. Because I was like trying to figure out 40.
His cousin. Yeah, he said his cousin.
So that's why. So when you've got more than one first degree relative, then you need to be screened at age 40. Okay. And then if you're also African American, then that puts you at an even higher risk. So you should be screened at age 40. All right. So all that to break down, 50 for everyone. Okay. 45 if you have a first degree relative or if you're African American, and then 40 or older if you have more than one first degree relative and you're African American. Okay. So that's when the screening should start. And so like I said, that's an update that just came out this year. So this is the current update now.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to ask. When should you be screened? Should all people be screened? You've answered all of that. Yeah. So Well,
now let me say this though. Don't just start at 40. Okay. Rick, I love what you were saying about, this is oftentimes when men don't come to the doctor a lot of times, and B, when you do come, you're not very forthcoming with your information or with what you tell us as doctors. So first of all, I urge all my patients, but that you need to have a very good relationship with your doctor. You need to be able to talk with your doctor about everything. Okay, even the things that might be a little bit embarrassing or that you personal. Want to say. Usually it's as I'm walking out the door, they usually say, doc, one more thing. I know what that means, right? We're talking about something sexual. So, and it's cool, but I want men to know that if you're having any symptoms at all, symptoms could be like blood in the urine.
Right.
Okay?
Stinging.
Right. Blood in the semen. Right. That's very abnormal. You should not have blood in your semen. If you have blood in the urine, if you're having painful urination, right. And that doesn't mean prostate cancer, but it means something's going on. If you're having frequency, so if you're getting up multiple times a night to urinate, if you're having urgency where all of a sudden you can't hold it anymore, like you got to go right now. Okay.
Right.
You're starting to have dribbling, like the urine is not coming out like a fast, hard urine stream like it used to, but it's just kind of inching out now, or you have to give what I call men, if you have to give it the pep talk, where you have to kind of stand there and be like, come on, come on, come on.
Something's wrong.
Usually that means something is going on. Now, that could be a lot of different things. It could be prostate infection, it could be enlargement, but that's when you need to go and talk with your doctor.
What about this, Dr. Edwards? What about your bowels? Is that something you should be concerned about too? If it's a different color, or if you're having constipation?
Well, you can. So I'll say that most prostate cancers are, like you said, Rick, localized to the prostate. About 90% are localized to the prostate. It's when they start to spread, that's when we start to run into the problems. But one of the first places that it can spread is to the bowels. So yes, if your bowels are abnormal, yes, that is also a reason why you should go see your doctor. Now, the prostate and the bowels, they're right there next to each other.
Right.
Sometimes if you're having some prostatitis, which is an infection or inflammation of the prostate, it can cause some irritation of the bowels as well. So if you're seeing blood in the bowels, if you're having problems passing or moving your bowels, if you're having alternating diarrhea and constipation, these are other reasons why you should be coming into the doctor to get tested. Now, if you're coming into me and I don't care what age you are, I'm going to probably do a digital rectal exam because I got to figure out, is there an infection or not? Right. And then we're also going to do a PSA. Okay. And like you're saying, Rick, your PSA was fine for all those years and then it shot up. There are other things that can cause the elevation of PSAs as well. PSA is one of those things that we kind of monitor over time. So if your PSA is less than 2, we usually say we should be checking it every 2 years. But if your PSA is over 2, then we should probably be checking it every year. And we might see it gradually going up. But if we see it jump up, then we could say, oh, that might be something concerning. But other things, like I said, prostate infections, prostate irritation, and even just age can cause gradual or slight increases in our PSA.
Right. Dr. Nicole Edwards, thank you so much. That was such great information. That was just kind of prostate cancer 101 right there. Bing, bang, boom.
Oh, my thing.
Yeah. But we appreciate you coming on and just, giving us that information, because as Rick said, it's information that we need. And Rick, I'm so glad that you are, your transparency and your honesty has started a wave of people, men in particular, wanting to talk about it, wanting to share, wanting to go to the doctor, wanting to see what's going on. So, like I said, I just think that's a great thing. So if nothing else came out of this, you're great. But now what you've gone through or are going through is affecting a change in the community that you already serve in another way.
Yeah, we're saved by the words of our testimony.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my missions. And Dr. Edwards, thank you for all of that. Great information. And people should just be open up to your doctor and let them know truly what's going on, because, hey, my eyes have been open. They have for some years now. And it's I have no problem with going to the doctor and telling them, hey, what's going on, especially now after what I've been through.
Exactly.
Because, hey, you are the folks who can help us out.
Right. Dr. Nicole Edwards, her information is on the screen, so please contact her if you want more information. She is accepting patients, and she does do telemedicine also. When we come back, Rick is going to do what he does best, talk about sports. I'm not good at that, but Rick is. So we're going to come back and talk with him next on Coping with COVID. Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks for having me. Good to meet you, Rick.
Yeah, nice meeting you. And thank you for, again, some great information.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Hello, this is Jamie Devine, Chairman of the Richland One School Board. I have enjoyed being able to give back to this community that has given so much to me, and I will be honored to earn your vote to return to the board and to continue to fight for this community that has such a rich history and legacy. Please remember to cast your vote for Jamie Devine in the election for Richland One School Board, Seat 2, this November 3rd, or in advance by absentee ballot. Thank you.
Paid for by the committee to elect Jamie Devine for the Richland One School Board.
Palmetto Media Connections wants to connect with you. Find and like us on Facebook and a chance to win dinner for a family of 10 for the Thanksgiving holidays. Provided by licensed caterer Deacon Eddie Green of Catering and Beyond, 201 Columbia Mall Boulevard, 803-567-3986. Connect with us for a chance to win dinner for a family of 10. Sponsored by Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together.
People will be able to look 100 years from now. They will know how we got over. This makes it even more important that we shine this light.
Part of it also wasn't the fact that we couldn't have the physical graduation, but I also couldn't celebrate with my family out of town.
For me, I feel like this is a new normal. This is not going away anytime soon, I don't think.
Anything that's happened before can happen again. And the same thing is at play with this virus.
You know, we are no longer in a building, and we've talked about church being, with us, in us.
Have you traveled abroad late in the past 6 months? We were trying to trace it back as early as November.
It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and there are resources and information available to help you. If you or someone you know need the help, please reach out to some of the information and some of the resources you see on the screen. There is help for you. You can get help. So please take advantage of it. I'm Tre Tailor. You're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. WIS-TV Sports Director Rick Henry joins us. We just talked to him about his prostate cancer journey. Now let's talk sports. There's a lot of stuff going on. The groundbreaking World Series for one.
Yeah, again, a World Series. Well, technically, I guess you can say a bubble played in a neutral field. It was so it's so weird. You go back to the NBA Finals. You've got Miami and the LA Lakers playing for the championship. Imagine how great that would have been going back and forth from city to city. But they have to play in Orlando. Yeah. And then you have the LA Dodgers and Tampa Bay Rays, and they're playing in Arlington, Texas. So, yeah, it was got to give it to Major League Baseball and the NBA. They were able to complete their shortened seasons and crown champions.
Yeah, yeah. Justin Turner, what's going on with him? What's going to happen because he came back so soon after being diagnosed with COVID?
Yeah, well, I mean, he played in that game, and they pulled him from the game like the 7th inning because he had a positive test. He was the only one on the Dodgers, I guess, during that round of testing that tested negative. And, they remove him from the game. And after they win the championship, and I can understand, you've been working for this your whole life. It's the Dodgers' first championship in 32 years, and you may never get this opportunity again. And he comes out on the field, takes his mask off for the pictures, and that's just being irresponsible. And
that is irresponsible, Rick.
and selfish. He could have gone out. Yeah, you want to be out there and be in the moment. Well, a baseball field is pretty large.
Yes,
you could
that's
go
right.
Stand over by yourself.
That's right.
Clap and cheer. And I'm sure your teammates would have acknowledged you. Some of the fans that were in attendance, they could have acknowledged you. And you could have been there sharing in the moment instead of running the risk of sharing COVID-19.
With everybody. That's right. Yeah. So what's going to happen? Because I haven't heard, were they going to fine him? I mean, what's going to be the fallout?
He could be fined. He could be suspended again because this is new territory.
Right.
So I guess we'll hear something from Major League Baseball, and then I don't know, will the team get fined? But there needs to be some type of punishment.
It's got to be
pretty strong reprimand because we're not out of the woods yet with COVID-19, and when baseball starts this new season, we could still be dealing with it.
You're right. Not only that, I think, and you know this better than me, I think this is going to set a precedence of other sports or how you handle other things. You can just, you've got to have some type of, to see how he's going to be handled, how the MLB is going to handle him may show how you handle, or one may deter somebody else from doing it, and then set a precedence that they're taking it seriously. Professional sports is taking it seriously.
Again, because this is a first for everyone, and you're kind of making up the rules and the guidelines as you go. Well, they need to make this a rule. If you've been diagnosed as positive with the virus during a game, you have to leave the playing field, the playing floor, and you're not allowed to return. You must start your self-isolation or quarantine immediately.
Well, to me, that's just common sense to me,
right?
But should someone have thrown him off the field?
Well, from what I heard, the security, they were telling him that he wasn't allowed back on the field, and he really, let's just say, I guess, told them where to go, and that's, hey, you're not stopping me. I'm going out there. Yeah. And he did it. But the one thing that really repulsed me is he has his mask off. He's there like kissing or hugging his wife. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about, let's talk about college sports now. It was just released, I guess, yesterday that AC Flores, Patrick Irell left the Gamecocks. He says he doesn't want to be in school.
Yeah, well, I talked to his high school coach last night, Josh Staley, and he said that Patrick told him he lost his love for the game.
Really?
And, that's really surprising. It was really surprising to Coach Staley because he said, the guy was, living out his dream. He was one of the hardest working players he had there at AC Floor, getting this practice. You've got a chance to play Division I basketball, get a free education. And then all of a sudden, before you even play a game, and it was just recently, the USC head coach, Frank Martin, was praising Patrick for his performance in practice. And then all of a sudden, he decides he's going to step away. So I don't know if there's something else going on there.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Or the young man is having a moment. And then Coach Staley didn't know what his next move was going to be, if he was going to stay at USC,
right,
or transfer to another school. It's just really surprising, especially this early in the process, I mean, you're just in preseason practice.
Right.
And if you lose your love for the game so quickly, was it there when you signed your letter of intent?
Right. And he could have gone to, where was it? Southern Cal, Boston, Cincinnati, I think too. He chose the Gamecocks. He had choices.
Yeah, he stayed close to home, and he was expected to compete for playing time. So I wish him well. I hope he's happy with whatever final decision he makes.
Yeah. South Carolina State University recently announced their fall football and basketball season. Then they had to stop practice because one of their staff members tested positive for COVID.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. The MEAC, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, they came out last week with their schedules for football, for spring football. But I talked to SC State head football coach Buddy Pugh. And he says, hey, that's not final. Like November 16th is the date when they're going to meet and see, okay, how many of the schools want to play football in the spring? How many are capable of playing football? And you'll probably see some teams drop off the list. And so then they'll come up with another schedule. And he also mentioned that they've talked to some other in-state football programs.
Oh, really?
That they may be playing them as well because, you've got Benedict, Newberry.
Yeah.
Those folks aren't playing football in the fall. And
who are you going to play? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that's still up in the air. In basketball, who knows what's going to happen with basketball because you're looking at cold and flu season.
Right. You're inside.
Seasons. And with COVID-19 still raging, basketball is played indoors.
Inside, yeah.
Will you be able to have fans? So, and still, I mean, the colleges are still working on trying to get their schedules together. Yeah. How many conference games are you going to play? How many non-conference games? Will you play non-conference? So a lot of stuff up in the air.
It's still a lot of stuff up in the air. We've got a couple of more minutes, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Clemson's Trevor Lawrence leaving the door open to whether or not he'll stay at a Tiger or head out to the NFL. What do you think?
Well, he came out earlier and said that, this was going to be his final season.
Oh, he did? Okay.
After his junior year. But then there's some speculation because, the worst team in the NFL gets the number one pick. Mm-hmm. And right now it's the New York Jets, and it's a very, very bad organization. And so a lot of people are speculating, hey, does he really want to go and play for the Jets, or will he go back to Clemson?
Right.
And wait another year? He could go back to school and wait. And it could still be the Jets or a team that's even worse than the Jets are now. And I wouldn't go back because he's going to become a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
And you don't want to risk getting an injury.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
All you have to do is look at Marcus Lattimore.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. He's the poster child for that. You're right. You're right.
So if you've got an opportunity to get that big payday, go get that big payday.
You talked a little bit. You're talking about college football and how COVID has affected it. High school football has been really affected by COVID too. It was almost every week we heard, the games are being canceled or postponed and moved around. White Knoll just canceled the rest of their season. It's
maddening. It's I go through and I make out our schedule of the games that we're going to cover, and you have to check and double check, and sometimes that's not even enough. It was like last week, Fairfield Central was supposed to play at Mid-Carolina. Fairfield Central had a virus problem.
Yeah.
So that game was postponed or canceled, but Mid-Carolina, they reached out to Manning, and they had a game on Friday, and I'm like going, what? They're now playing Manning? And then Lexington, I believe, Lexington, They were supposed to play White Knoll. Lexington, I believe they've scheduled South Aiken to play this Friday.
Right.
So it's, it's got my stomach churning. Because one of the worst things that can happen is, okay, I think someone's playing. I sent a photographer there and they call back. It's dark over here. No one's playing. And that does happen from time to time, and so it's just really, gut wrenching, so to speak. And I'll be glad when this season is over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can't wait until we can get back to normal.
I was going to ask, has any decision been made on high school basketball?
I don't think not.
Or any other sports?
Final decisions. Of course, high school basketball is, are they going to start at that? I believe it's going to start a little bit later. I don't know what the latest update is, so I don't want to. Don't want to say, but I know they're after football. Yeah, they're looking at trying to get the season in, but they're probably waiting to see just exactly how football will end, how many teams will be able to finish the season, and will they be able to have their championship games?
Right. I know you got to run, but I want to talk about a spectator-free Masters in November.
Yeah, that is going to be weird. Even stranger than some of the other golf tournaments that didn't have spectators, because the Masters is always crowded.
Yeah.
And, I've covered the U.S. Open, and it doesn't have nearly the crowd turnout that you have for the Masters. And so, and not having the pretty scenery with the magnolia trees and the dogwoods, it'll be interesting to see how they try to dress up the course. But it's really going to seem strange because watching golf where there are no fans, somebody hits a great shot or somebody has a really poor shot, and you're waiting for the crowd reaction, then you go, oh, there's no one there.
Right. I mean, which is what baseball, basketball, basketball, all of the sports have experienced.
Right.
No crowd reaction.
Yeah, they did a good job, pumping in some crowd noise with the NBA and with music, but still, the finals and not having the packed arenas and the home court advantage, it did take something away from it, but you got used to it. And the basketball, the level of competition was really good, but still, you miss having the fans there.
Do you, you make a good point. Do you think they'll pipe in some clap, golf claps?
Nah, they are. Hey, if any place won't go for that, it'll be the Masters. It'll be the Masters. And,
well, before we go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, before we leave, I want to talk about your new Outside the Pocket post-game show on WIS-TV.
Yeah, well, it's on our website and our Facebook page because we have limited access this year because of COVID-19. We normally get 4 credentials for USC home games. We just get 1.
Wow.
And if we're selected as one of the 2 local stations to be the pool videographers for that game, then that counts as your 1 credential. So I've gone to one of the 2 home games, and of course we're not traveling because there's almost no access for visiting media.
Right.
So what we do is we do something on Facebook. Depending on kickoff time, it'll either be a pregame show or a postgame show. We invite people to call in, send us messages on our Facebook page, and we just have a good time talking sports and just to keep our presence covering.
Right.
Since we can't be at the stadium.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
Well, that's good. That's good. Rick Henry, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for updating us on everything going on with sports, albeit strange and different.
Very strange. Very strange. But this too shall pass.
Yeah.
You just don't know when.
I think later. Right. Exactly. I think later before sooner. Because who would have thought we would have been dealing with it this long,
I know. I thought at least by the summer we'd be home free or close to it. But this, everything started shutting down in March. And here it is. It'll be Thanksgiving soon.
It'll be Thanksgiving. Yeah. And it'll be the end of the year. It'll be 2021. And, but you know what? I'll tell you, you think about how long it's taken for vaccines for even the common cold, cancer. I mean, it takes a long time to figure out how to cure or how to treat something. So I don't know why. And I see Nicole down there shaking her head. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know why we thought it was going to be 1, 2, 3 gone,
Yeah, because everyone is so anxious to get back to normal.
To get back. Yeah. And I guess maybe that was it, because it affected us so greatly. It impacted us really, a lot.
Not affecting.
It is affecting.
It's still going on.
It's affecting. Yes. It's still going on.
And people are looking for that sense of normalcy. So yeah, but rushing is not going to, it's just going to prolong it. So
yeah. Right. And I think it has. I actually think it has. Yeah. I mean, we rushed to get back to work. We're opening up the business, open up the restaurants, and people still not wearing masks. So it's, but listen, I still believe in Jesus. I still believe in God. So, Nicole, thank you again so much for joining us today on Coping with COVID. Rick, thank you so much for for sharing your story, for keeping us updated on sports, and really for your advocacy now, for what you're doing, really opening up the conversation and making yourself and your experience available so others can can feel good or feel comfortable about sharing theirs. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Absolutely. Rick Henry, there's his information on the screen, and we gave you Dr. Nicole Edwards information. Please contact either of them if you want to reach out, if you need some information. Rick and Nicole are both available. Thank you guys both so much. I appreciate you.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. You too. Listen, if you know somebody that has a story that could help someone cope with COVID, please go over to my Facebook page and Tailor Made Production, and please reach out. If you have a story or a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com. copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com. And we would love to talk to you about being a proud sponsor of Coping with COVID, just like Palmetto Media Connections, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, SCDHEC, In It Together, and of course, Agape Counseling and Training Center. Tomorrow on Coping with COVID, it is Faith Friday, and we're going to talk with Gerald Salmon with Latson Presbyterian Church. And then on Saturday, we're bike riding with Tyrone Mitchell of the Sharp Iron Riders Club. That's coming up on Coping with COVID. As usual, I leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. And today, unless Rick's still there. Rick, did you have I didn't ask you this, did you have a favorite scripture or anything that helped you through this process? I put you on the spot. I didn't.
Yeah, see these wristbands I'm wearing?
Yes.
Okay. And Jerome Nesbitt, one of our church members,
yes.
Jerome?
Yes.
And, his son unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago.
That's right.
Had a brain tumor. And this one, when Jerome and his wife, when they were discussing the illness with Deuce, and Deuce replied, "I'm good. God got me." That's what this bracelet says right here.
Wow.
And also got this one from Jerome. This says, "Frog, fully rely on God."
Oh, I love that. I love that.
So I kept thinking about these two wristbands leading up to my surgery.
Yeah, frog, fully rely on God, and God got me. That's good right there, Rick. Thank you. We can close the show with that. Listen, thank you so much for joining us once again on Coping with COVID. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Ask you to be careful, be safe, and don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin.
Right.
That's right.
Wear it properly, folks.
Wear it properly. I see so many people like, you're not protecting anything.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.